All right. Hello and welcome to this episode where we are going to talk about expecting recovery while simultaneously letting go of your expectations of recovery. And I know that that sounds a bit paradoxical, but by the end of the episode, it will make sense. So, real quick before we dive in, my name is Matt Cotty, and I'm the founder of Restored Minds and the creator of the AAA response. And if you are struggling with OCD and anxiety and are looking for help, I have some resources right down in the notes to help you out, starting with my book and a workshop that we put together, as well as our program called Taking Back Control over at restoredminds.com. Also, if you are watching this right now or listening to the show, please help us out by liking and subscribing, leaving a comment, and even a review on iTunes and Spotify, as it really helps the algorithm. So with all that said, let's go ahead and dive in. So, one of the most important things when it comes to recovering from anything, especially mental health, is expecting that that's going to happen, right? Having the belief that your recovery is coming, that that is in your future, that it's obtainable, that it is something that awaits you. Because if you don't have that belief, it's going to be very hard to do the things to get there. You really have to conceptualize and visualize and believe that your recovery is coming. Now, the trap of that is the what we don't want to do is set expectations of what that is supposed to look like, because that's where you go wrong. So I think it's very healthy to live in an expecting state of good, to come into, of recovery to come into your life, of health, right? Being expecting of that. But what we don't want to do is get so specific, or we set specific expectations as how that's supposed to look, because then if we don't experience those exact expectations, that it actually works against us, because then it puts us into a negative state and we get reactive, right? The famous phrase, says like, today's expectations are tomorrow's disappointments, right? And the idea of an expectation is thinking very, very specifically about, this needs to happen this way, or everything else is it's like a black and white way of thinking, where so think of it this way. Like, I was talking with a client about this recently, and I really enjoyed the conversation, so I wanted to make an episode about this. So let's pretend that, like, it's Christmas Eve, and let's pretend you celebrate Christmas, right, and all that. And it's Christmas Eve, and Santa's coming tomorrow, right? And so you get really excited, right, because you have this expectancy that Santa's going to come bring you presents. But let's say you have an expectation that, in order for Christmas morning to be good, I need to get this specific item, right? It might be a skateboard or a doll or whatever it is, Nerf gun, doesn't matter, a puppy. And because you set that expectation that not only does Santa need to come, but he needs to bring me this item, and that is going to make a good Christmas morning. The issue is if that item doesn't come, no matter what you got, you're going to view the experience as negative. You're going to completely miss all of this other stuff. And because you have the expectation, the very specific expectation, that this thing needs to happen, versus an expectancy of like, man, I wonder what good things are coming to me tomorrow. And an excited expectancy, when you move into it with that kind of thinking, what happens is like, whatever it is, you see it as good. See, expectancy of good, expectancy of health, expectancy of recovery leaves you open to receiving it how it actually comes in. The expectation of this needs to happen this way sets you up that if life doesn't happen exactly like that, you then see it as what you want didn't happen, or this was a failure, or black. It causes you to go black and white thinking. I hope that makes sense there. So tying this all back to OCD and anxiety recovery, well, one of the things that happens is that a lot of times we are practicing these unhealthy behaviors like rumination and analyzing and being lost in our minds for a long time. And what happens is that we essentially have this secondary effect happen where we start maybe having intrusive thoughts, high levels of anxiety. And because we perceive that to be a problem, we then, when we start the recovery journey, we set the expectations that recovery is supposed to be this. Recovery is supposed to be, hey, I don't have intrusive thoughts and I don't have intrusive feelings, or anxious feelings, I meant. And so we set the expectation that recovery needs to do that. So then what happens is, because we set that expectation, very, very specific, and very, very unrealistic, in my opinion, right? Because everyone has intrusive thoughts and anxious feelings. So the idea that recovery needs to produce an unrealistic, event, then what happens is then we get disappointed, or we're trying to use tools to create an outcome that we expect to happen as opposed to what the tool is designed to do. And so so when we engage in ERP, for instance, or exposure response prevention, and specifically using something like the AAA response that I talk about in my book, and obviously in the program Taking Back Control, what ERP is not removing thoughts and feelings. It is removing all compulsive or safety behaviors. Now, what happens as a secondary result of that, that's the only thing the tool is designed to do, right? Is to remove, right? Expose yourself to the uncomfortable thoughts, the uncomfortable feelings, and then prevent yourself from responding, ERP, with the safety behaviors or the compulsive behaviors. That's it. That's what ERP is. Now, what we know as people someone who has gone through this personally and has walked many people through this path, is that once the nervous system moves from sympathetic to the parasympathetic, what has a tendency to happen is your body has this way of calming down, right? And your body shifts into parasympathetic, or green, like I call it. Thoughts tend to calm down, right? Like, these secondary effects tend to happen. But again, that's not our goal. Our goal is to remove all the behaviors that are validating the idea that you're in threat. So when you set the expectation that I'm going to do ERP and I'm going to have no thoughts, no feelings, you're using the tool with the wrong expectations. And then that usually causes people to believe that this tool doesn't work for me. This doesn't work for me. Yeah, I hear that probably weekly. Hey, I tried ERP, it doesn't work. Well, it doesn't work if you set the expectation that it's supposed to remove your thoughts and feelings, because what it's designed to do is remove your behaviors. Now, if you went into it, though, with the expectancy of, hey, I'm going to listen to this person's guidance, I'm going to really engage in this, and I'm going to expect that it's going to work, but I don't even know how it's going to work. I'm not going to set any expectations of what I think is going to happen. I'm going to expect to recover, though. And maybe I don't even know what recovery means. Maybe recovery is something even better than I can conceptualize. So, and when we move into it with expectancy, we're going to have a much better result than I expect this to do X, Y, and Z. This is a really, really, kind of specific nuance that I'm talking about, because you might sit there and be like, Matt, expectancy and expectations are the same thing. No, they're not. Not in this case here. An expectation, what I'm saying is, when you're expecting a very specific outcome and you're black and white on, if this outcome doesn't happen, then this is a failure, versus expectancy being like, hey, look, I'm expecting good things to happen, and I'm I'm expecting recovery, and I'm open to going in with the idea that I don't even know maybe what that means. A lot of people say, hey, like, I want to get back to where I was. That's their version of recovery. I want to get back to where I was, where I just ruminated, and I liked ruminating, and it was fun, and I enjoyed doing it. Where recovery is a shift in consciousness. It's the idea that, like, even realizing that rumination is unhealthy. Like, recovery is often so far beyond what you can conceptualize that it's like, the idea of going back to how you used to operate is like, no, there's no way I would do that. Right? Like, when I look at recovery, how I define it for myself, it's like, there's no way I would go back to how I was before I got lost in the OCD loop. The OCD loop served in many ways, me to, help develop higher levels of consciousness, which then I can bring into all these aspects of my life. So instead of the idea of like recovery could be something to the effect of, hey, like, how do I have no intrusive thoughts and no anxious feelings? Recovery might be, hey, how can I literally experience any thought and any feeling and stay perfectly present at the same time and not get dysregulated? Like, what if you could get to that point? What if recovery was like that? Which, I believe it is, right? And it's like, that's such a higher level of consciousness than, hey, I don't want thoughts and feelings that I don't like. This is why, like, expecting recovery and not attaching specifics of what you think that needs to be is going to be, you're going to engage in the tools in a much, less resistant way, much more open way, I should say. And it's going to produce much better results in your life. So yes, I believe you should expect recovery. I tell every single person I work with that, like, absolutely recovery is possible. But at the same time, we want to let go of the expectation that what your mind is creating of what that needs to look like. Because that little hurdle right there oftentimes keeps us stuck from realizing, really implementing the tools, how they're designed to be implemented, and then prevents us from really seeing results. So I hope this was helpful. And I know it's a little nuanced, but when you get this idea, again, like, absolutely expect recovery, but let go of your expectations of what you think that means. Because in my experience, it's way better than your mind can conceptualize. So hope that helps. And looking forward to seeing you guys on the next episode. Again, please check out the resources down in the notes, and then we will see you on the next episode. Have a good week, guys. Hey there, hope you enjoyed that recent video. We really would appreciate your support real quick if you could like and subscribe to our channel. And if you're looking for help with OCD and anxiety, please check out the links below or visit restoredminds.com, as we'd be happy to help you on your journey. Thanks so much.